Terence Crawford's fight against Viktor Postol was an absolute masterclass in how to adjust to and nullify your opponent's best weapons. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at the tools and techniques that Terence used to do just that. Getting right into it with the first round, where Viktor made it clear that he intended to establish his jab to the midsection of Crawford. Terence immediately began to adjust to this by doing his best to counter Postol on the way in with a jab of his own, as well as by shifting stances from orthodox to southpaw. From the new stance, Terence began batting Postol's jab down on the way in, allowing him to counter directly over top, as well as an opportunity to probe the body. As Postol continued his body jab attack, Bud began to morph his same-time counter jab into more of a check hook, as well as continued to probe the body with that jab, all the while constantly circling to prevent Postol from being able to set his feet and punch. In this sequence, we see that Crawford probes the jab to the body, rhythms, feints right before circling left, threatens the check hook, then probes the jab to the head twice more to finish, and in doing so uses all the tools mentioned thus far and then some. With a minute left to go in the first round, Crawford displayed yet another tool for nullifying Postol's jab, this time in the form of a lead hand parry. After allowing Crawford to establish at least 5 different ways of dealing with his jab, Postol's first attempt at throwing anything other than a jab didn't go very well for him, because Crawford simply absorbed Viktor's rear hook with a body block while simultaneously rolling with it to help load his own lead hand shot, which he proceeded to back Postol off with. Nearing the end of the first, you could already sense a bit of urgency and frustration coming from Postol, as he began to lunge in with that rear hook, as well as to try to force the fight on the inside. And he almost had some success with it too, due to the fact that Crawford had established yet another defense for Postol's jab, this time in the form of an inside slip, which is somewhat dangerous because you run the risk of slipping directly into a rear hand, the way Crawford nearly did here. Seeing that he might have some success, Viktor tried right away to throw the same combination again, giving Terence the opportunity to adjust from a more dangerous inside slip defense to a pull defense, which also leaves him the option to attempt a duck under the rear hook. When Viktor attempted the same combo yet again in the second round, Crawford pulled to avoid the jab, ducked to get under the rear hook, and proceeded to tie Viktor up. This moment marked the end of the fight for Viktor as far as I'm concerned, as he was completely unable to get anything going offensively after this point, and Crawford started to have some fun with him. Moments later in the 5th round, Crawford had landed the best shot of the fight up until this point, rocking Postol and even dropping him. And if you remember from the first round when Postol made his first attempt at this lunging jab rear hook combo, you'll notice that Crawford uses the same defense as before, but this time counters with the left instead of the right. As Crawford continued to make Postol miss the same combination over and over, he even used it as an opportunity to escape the corner by clinching as usual, but turning him to the ropes before Tony Weeks could initiate the break. I really wish they would have gotten the advice from Crawford's corner in between rounds 4 and 5, because after immediately scoring a knockdown via check hook over one of Postol's jabs, Crawford clearly points to his corner and nods in approval as if to say they planned that. After scoring 2 knockdowns, Crawford eventually went on the offensive, and as a main method of getting past the reach of Viktor's outstretched jab, Terence would simultaneously step and slip to the outside as he threw his lead uppercut up the middle, helping to close the range for his overhand left. Over and over and over again, Terence picked off Postol's jab to the body with the parry, preventing Postol from setting his feet to punch by using masterful footwork that ultimately took him right back to his corner at the end of every round, leaving Viktor frustrated and scratching his head in confusion. Each clip from here on out is something I've explained already in terms of the technique, so now I'd like to talk a little bit about my opinion on Crawford versus Spence while these clips play out so you can see the beauty of the rest of this performance from Bud. I have to say that my first instinct was that Spence's overall work rate, body punching capability, power, and positioning were going to take the fight. But after doing considerable research on both fighters, I would now have to say that Crawford's overall ring IQ, speed, vision, and athletic capability are going to be too much for Spence to cope with. For Spence to be able to get his effective work rate off, he's going to have to be able to set his feet to throw. And it's the same situation here with Postol, just too much movement from Crawford. Add on top of that the amazing switch hitting, which wasn't even really displayed in this fight. And that's because Crawford's tool bag is so deep he didn't even need to pull it out. When I watch Errol Spence, I just don't see the same level of refinement that I see when I watch Crawford. Errol's guard and positioning are super solid, but I just don't see the same level of techniques, like this Cuban check hook for example, stepping that lead leg out as the check hook comes to the center. One of my favorite things about this fight is that in this 12th round, Bud really gave Postol the opportunity to go all out and fight his type of fight, but he just chose not to because he was so nullified at this point. And I really think that that's going to be the same thing we see with Spence. People seem to be expecting that Spence is going to be able to impose his will via his work rate, but I think Crawford's ability to adjust is just going to be too much. I think it's going to be fight of the year, guys, so let me know what you think in the comments. Who do you have winning? I'm rolling Team Crawford on this one. Let me know if you agreed with my analysis on this fight, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you want more videos like this. Peace, guys.